We talking about my hat or his hat? Yeah. We got the memo. Let's see here. Oh, did you? Perfect.
So I was telling Matt before he got on, I feel like we have like two goals here. One, we want this episode to really summarize the story so far, right? So if somebody were to step in and start watching now, we're going to cover everything that's happened up until this point. And also, it'd be a little bit of like a back and forth, like question and answer thing, right? So
Yeah.
kind of like very much my mental space for it is like a director's cut type of behind the scenes, like if we had a Patreon exclusive type like conversation.
For sure.
Yeah.
I will have.
What does that mean? At the last day of the month, dude? Do they just need to be bound or they need to be issued? Well, that might be doable. You can always write more on Scotland. Yeah, you could. That's Jonah used to always do that. If we were like one or two shy, he'd be like, "Well, my family's getting moved." Yeah. Yo.
So you're just too short.
He's had a hell of a month, right? So.
Sounds like Chris needs some more life.
Bro, I got 1.5 million on me and Alicia.
Incoming ad break.
We're good.
Each?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have licenses in other states, so. Yeah, but it depends on like I can't, for instance, have like I can't hold like Washington life insurance. Yeah. Policies. So fire. Fire. Do you get paid a higher percentage if you sell more life? Yeah, that makes sense. You get to 80 or whatever. Super weird thing. Like I never sold auto without fire. Yeah. So it was always an obvious thing, right? Yeah. But even like even as like a homeowner's, right? Like I would never. It's never. I still don't think it's ever cost effective. Like. And also, then you have to deal with two different places. You don't know which number you're calling. Like it's stupid. With you. How much more time we have until ads are over? Yeah, I think we can go.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, man. I think it's your channel, right? So
yeah, good point. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming by. It's me, Jugrox, Jug, as my DM name. Not DM name, but Dungeons and Dragons name. And then we got Devin over here, Talon, the mighty swordsman, right there. And then we got God, Chris Hickman, the DM.
And
The voice of all voices, the booming of all announcements, the one, the only, the Dungeon Master, Christopher fucking Hickman.
Well, that's a hard introduction to live up to, but I'll do what I can. Thank you guys for coming in tonight and kind of doing this, kind of like a recap, right? So I think that like our goal tonight is to do a little bit of a talking heads, a little bit of a recap on just we're 1 year in, right? We're just now hitting the 1 year mark on our campaign, and we thought that that would be a good time to start to export our videos to YouTube. We've been using Twitch kind of primarily.
But videos disappear.
Yeah, they do after a certain amount of time, right? So we wanted to be able to, at a minimum, if nobody else watches, we could make it so that we can go back and watch these years from now, right? Which would be fun.
And just be like, oh my God, we sucked back then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's probably good we didn't have that first year because there was a lot of that. But yeah, no, so I think it'd be really good for everybody before we kind of jump in here, just talk a little bit about what their experience is with the game, with TTRPGs in general, and kind of what, maybe how we know each other and what we're looking forward to.
Would you like to lead, Mr. God?
Yeah, again, let's not. So
should you do it in different voices from the campaign every time?
No.
Every question's a different voice from the campaign?
I was practicing my Dragon Ball Z announcer voice tonight when I was
And
reading
next
Elsie.
time on Dragon Ball Z.
I thought I was really getting into it. I was reading Berenstain Bears, but it was intense.
Hey, there you go.
So my name is
Sorry,
Chris.
is it Berenstein or Berenstein?
Hey, Mandela effect.
But we have all these old books, and the letters are the other way, so now I'm confused. So, in any case, my name is Chris. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, I want to say, since like 2018, which is definitely kind of a like late to the party type deal. But I think
Gatekeeper.
I think it's still earlier than everybody else at this table. So it is one of those things where. I think it was kind of when everything else kind of got big, right? So you start to have Stranger Things hit, you start to have Critical Role hit, and it was one of those things that I think had lingered on the edges for a while. I think for me, probably the first introduction was my brother played D&D back in like the early 2010s at high school, and I got Lords of Waterdeep, which was a board game based in that world, and I just think it kind of like sparked something for me. I've only ever played 10 sessions as a player, and I've done like 80 as a DM. So I really don't have that much experience like actually playing in the game. We had our original DM kind of left and went and joined the military, so then it just became up to me to do it. And as a general rule, I always put us in a homebrew world, right? Like I don't really follow. I put adventures, and I'll pull adventures out of official stuff, but we don't play in the Forgotten Realms. We don't play in Waterdeep. We don't play in, even like Dragonlance or anything like that. I've always kind of had my own world, which is just, stolen and cheated and ripped off of every movie, anime, video game I've ever played, and just trying to throw it all together. But the story that we're going to talk about tonight, kind of the campaign that we're in, is at least it's a completely homebrew world. So that's kind of my deal. Thing I'm most looking forward to is that we finally are in the town and in the encounter that kind of inspired this whole thing for me. And I've been wanting to run this campaign, specifically this campaign and this
Welcome Ben Bob Baggins.
This dungeon, this series of
081.
dungeons. I've been wanting to run it for like 5 years, and so it's been really cool to finally kind of bring it to life, even though it's taken a lot longer than I anticipated. So that's kind of me. That's what I do. Why don't we go to you, Matt, because you're one of the newest players at the table.
Yes. I am a rookie, as you would say. I've been playing now for, you said a year anniversary, so a year. I like to think I've been doing all right, but I've been having a good time. Chris has made this amazing world, and don't let him like talk down on himself or not give him enough hype. But he's Matt Mercer's protege. All right, he's getting ready. He's gonna the next season of Critical Role. He's gonna be running it. right? So he's doing a really good job. He's really creative. He creates all these different, tropes that we enjoy from all different sources of media, be it anime, movies, action, sci-fi, all this crazy stuff. And he really blends it together seamlessly. And I've really had a really good time. I've met all these guys in high school. Here, this group. The other guys, some of them I just met, but some of them I know for a while. It's been great to be able to tell the story. It's not always about the action and everything, but that the story you're trying to tell. In college, I took Native American literature, and I found all these great ways that they would tell their history through stories and religion. And I really feel like this is a great example of how, though we advanced as a society, that our roots are still in storytelling and world building and telling our adventures and stories and creating entertainment, be it that some stories are far-fetched and not and totally true or accurate, but it's about the feelings that they create, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it. I'm happy about all the people that have come and watched us play. People have really come out and supported us, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think it's just been a really good time. And then the group, though terrible at planning things out, is a lot of fun and really gets really well mended together. And my dogs are fighting in the background. I'm about to not beat them because that's inappropriate, but I'm going to scold them. I'm going to scold them because I do not beat my dogs, which is 100% true. Not saying that because I'd get in trouble. But yeah, this is...
What are you most looking forward to, Matthew?
I'm just looking forward to, I don't know how everybody else feels. Oh man, I don't know if I want to say it. I'm really excited to get closer and closer to this big evil and big bad that we've just been building up. That and I don't know if it's going to happen because Chris is, the storyteller, and all that, and he's made this world. But I'm kind of looking for, Avengers Civil War type of thing to happen with the group, where we get split up for either differences in our our ideology or what we think is right, and because just because he's big bad, I've always said it is that the Jedis are the good guys and the Empire's the bad guys, which I mean is 100% true, but it's because we see it through this perspective of the Resistance. So of course they're dictated as the bad guys. Whoever wins the war gets to write the history. So it always isn't as good as it is, and it's not always as bad as it is. But at some point we may look at the same exact thing, and we might have different ideas or thoughts, and it may affect us differently, and then we may split up as a group and fight each other, which I think would be really cool. I don't know how it would really work. Again, I'm a rook, so you can make fun of me in the comments or anything like that, but I just think that'd be a lot of fun. Talon's coming with me. I don't care because he rolls really high, so I don't care what his ideas are. I'm going to grab him and take him with me.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as transition as we could ask for. Devin, Talon Brightshield, the first of his name, son to a dishonored legacy. Talk to me a little bit about
Commander of the Kingsguard.
Your Knight Commander.
Yeah,
the Knight Commander. Yeah, I have been
and
playing
the leader of the Forged.
I have an unofficial leader of duly elected last man standing. I have, like Chris, been playing D&D since 2018, 2019. I am typically forever DM. I've been running my own campaign for, going on 4 years now, I think. So, Chris is a very, he's the type of DM who likes to take notes, has everything written down. I'm a freewheeling, rule of cool, loose cannon. Just chaos incarnate. But it has been very cool, man. He's created his own world. That is not something that I've ever endeavored to do. So it's amazing to get to experience this world that he's created. He's taken bits and pieces like every good writer does, and it's very Sanderson-esque. where you've got all this detail and all these cool features. In my campaign, I've ripped off of the books. We've just gone from one to another, and then created, customized little cool little things in between it, where it just kind of all strings together. Whether that's the the infinite staircase, or we've done Candlekeep or Waterdeep, or we've gone all through Faerun in the other campaigns. So it's very cool.
All the deeps, man. It's been very cool to get to be a player. Obviously, as a DM, if you're good at it, you kind of get stuck with it for forever. And so it's always nice to escape and get to be the PC for a while. And Talon Brightshield, first of his name, huzzah!
Is a glorious interpretation of everything. An idealized version of what you'd want to be, right? Big, fast, strong, loyal, and has quite the chip on his shoulder from his own backstory and experiences so far in Thunderfall.
Yeah, so give a little background. The setting, right? The setting that we're playing in, again, is a homebrew setting. It's called Thunderfall. And the reason it's so named is that, eons ago, over 1,000 years ago, a massive storm came and kind of reshaped the land. So Thunderfall as a space is really a very heavy water centric place, right? There's a lot of rivers, there's lots of inlets, there's lots of bays, there's a ton of ocean front land, and the concept behind it was most of that wasn't the case before the storm. That this was carved out, right? Land that was once well above sea level is now well below it, just because of the havoc of the storm. And I guess the essential narrative to that is that the storm was unnatural, right? And it was unending. And that there was a deity, at least a demigod type of creature, a phoenix, that went and sought to try to defeat the storm, but ultimately it was consumed by the storm and died. And then seemingly, of its own accord, eventually the storm just went away. And there are people who worship the phoenix. They seek for it to rise again, and then new people, a new government rose from the ashes of this storm, right? And one of the things that you'll see is that while the main storm has left, Thunderfall is still characterized by massive, it's very normal for it to storm very, very often, right? That
very elemental.
There's lots of offshoots. It's just a very violent, weather-wise region. And so much so that in the 1,000 years that have passed, the denizens of the area have learned to utilize these storms, because they're more arcane in nature than they are just purely natural. And so they've been able to be utilized, harnessed, and used to further technology, to further science, for both good and bad, right? And so there's been largely a ruling family that's kind of led them through this in different factions, and kind of where our players find themselves is 1,000 years later.
I feel like God, I'm a Kage. Whoa, busting my ass, I know off days. Whoa, me, I've been working, I grind from the ground, and now you see my drip is so Kage.
Take the land and return it back to
Look, boy, I'm a legend, but spell on my presence. Don't test me, I'm ready. My drip like Hokage. See you and I, we both had nothing in common. I move like Kakashi, I do shit around. Let's go.
The military forces.
You know me from the unknown. Said I gotta show that I'm with it. I got gusto, so not to the fox. I kill them, we all cut throats. Had to put the work in, show what the work is. Came up from the bottom, now I'm up though. Still go by the trenches, now I'm on my lit shit. Give me serious, one punch on. What the fuck, ayy? Pass up the waist, gotta show my pain when I ain't pop the six. High like a satellite, we can get a scrapping right there with the team. We can run up the fade.
What are your take on
one day flex with a team, they know what I say. And when I'm showing up, no one is cold as it's guaranteed. I'ma go fuck up the game. Kage, running for the climbing to the top place. Young little legend from the village to the my way. Now they trying to copy like a cat, you doing cosplay. Putting into work, I'm feeling like y'all waiting for the Messiah with the God play. Y'all better stop, y'all better watch. Came through flooded, come out drip, Hokage,
which are the kind of the royal protectors, right? They're part of the royal family. We have the Black Guard, which is effectively like the general army, and kind of Swiss Army knife of the approach, right? And then you've got a bunch of other cool smaller factions that don't really get hit on a lot, but a lot of the religious subsets that each of the individual characters has played a factor in a lot of their choices, right? Whether it's the Phoenixborn or whether it's the Cudgel, right? Which is Bruno's.
Yes, so the Cudgel isn't actually a faction.
It's not. When I say faction, you're thinking there's the main ones, right? And then there's subsets, which are all the religious ones. They're not actually called. You don't actually call them factions.
Yes.
But they're group clubs. Probably not also the right word, but a grouping of people that are all under a shared group of ideals that all play different factors, right? And the interesting, we have not had it amongst the party members because there have not been multiple different faction members that believe different things that are all under the same faction. So it hasn't been a touch point of conflict yet, but there are these subsets of how does the Cudgel feel about this, or how does the Cudgel feel about that, or how would Heronius's believers who are part of X faction react to someone who maybe doesn't feel that way.
Sure.
So it's a very cool and unique take on not only what your class would be, but how does that faction impact that class and the decisions that the player would make for their character.
Right. So we got rid of traditional backgrounds in this game, and instead your backgrounds are a lot more powerful, and we use the faction that you're in to grant you special faction specific powers. And it's a little bit based on the what is the Guide to Ravnica called? The Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. There's guilds in that book that kind of were served as, and probably that's one of the books that honestly inspired me the most for this homebrew. But each of those guilds give special perks, and I wanted to take that. I wanted your guild to kind of determine a lot. So even if you could be a paladin, but if you're a Blackguard paladin, you're a lot more martial than you are holy, right? And if you are a Phoenixborn wizard, then you're a lot more, just inherently, you're going to use a lot more fire spells, right? You're going to be a lot more tied to, yes, you're going to be a lot more of a performer, right? And so the other factions that we don't really have a whole lot of, we have a handful of people who fill in this. So like you said, we have the Kingsguard, we have the Blackguard, we have the Phoenixborn. There are two more. And so we actually have a member of the other one of the two that are left, and we've never had one of the one that remains. Do you know what those are, Matt?
Yeah, the University in Azure.
Yeah, the Azure, right? So, and the Azure and the Phoenix. So we've never had a university player character. But that's basically where all the scholars go. That's where most of the wizards.
Doesn't fit this group.
No, yeah, it's a lot of really high intelligence characters, right? Go there, and each of the factions might be partial to a few classes, but any class can be in any faction provided they fit the ideals, right? They're in alignment with them. But I would say that yes, it's really the high int classes that kind of hang out in the university, and then the Azure is the faction that we talked about just a little bit ago that had a bit of a schism, right? And that schism has led to the current conflict that we're in.
Bitches.
Can one of you guys talk a little bit about what that conflict is specifically, and kind of how we became involved in it?
Yeah. So basically, how we kind of became part of this conflict, this big, what it seems like engulfing war that's over the horizon, is our characters, our player characters, where at this event called the Aspirants, where we're doing a Mr. Olympiad, but for the different factions, where we get sorted into houses. But unlike Harry Potter, where all you have to do is sit down on a hat, you got to jump over some logs on a river that for some seems mathematically impossible.
Absolute bullshit.
that seemed mathematically impossible, though with creative minds we were able to overcome. And there was other great tests of strength to really show off and showcase who we are as characters and what faction wanted to bid for us. Because all the factions got to send offers and we got to accept based off of what they valued us as. And some people only got one offer, some got a bunch, some got offered a shit ton of gold. Devin. And so that's kind of how that all happened. And then Azure were one of those that were trying to vibe for one of us to join their cause, which would have been really interesting if someone went that route. That would have been kind of cool. But the leader of the Azure does not agree with the king's running of the company of the country. Yeah, I didn't know exactly like how. Empire. Yeah, so Empire, and so he has fractured himself from the the country's government, and he thinks that he can do it better, and he's going to bring the reckoning of the storm upon us. And after we finished up the aspirants, we got attacked by his soldiers. The city we were at got attacked, and next thing you know, like shit through a goose, we were in the conflict and ready to fight, covered in shit and blood. It was good.
Yeah, so Calum was like the Azure are inherently more of a religious faction. The Azure effectively, like, it's where most of the clerics are. It's where most of the people that worship like power, like warlocks and things like that. Anybody who worships kind of like a higher power, kind of tends to hang out with the Azure, and specifically those who worship the old gods, right? And as a general rule, the Azure kind of believe that we owe our allegiance to the elder gods, not to these newer, deities. And it is actually like that type of faith, something that's referred to as the old faith, is the primary faith in most of the rural parts of the country. Like, and it's kind of like from the premise of like, if you're a farmer, you really just care that the rain comes and the sun comes and that the winter isn't too hard and that your cattle are able to bring like healthy,
Yeah, I kind of I kind of took a connection of like in, everybody loves Game of Thrones except for the last season. But the North, they were all about the old gods, where the South was all about these new gods and all these new ways to worship and all this stuff. And the North were just like, no, this shit's cold up here. We don't have time for that. So.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's definitely like a influence on me, right? Like even that concept. So there are only 2 of the original PC characters, but when we started this campaign, we actually ran a session 0. A
half.
Okay, yeah.
And 2 halves. Yeah, because one's, he's not doing so hot.
We ran a session 0, and what I did was I knew I had a number of new players, so I had 2 people who had never played the game before. I
lit a bush on fire, guys. It was freaking awesome.
A handful of players who hadn't played in a couple of years. And then Devin and Ben, who both had played more extensively. And so I gave everybody pre-generated characters in a situation to kind of just, hey, let's learn how to play the game. And Devin, could you kind of walk through what was like, so what is session 0? What kind of like is the background that like we built this whole story on top of?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incident with some cult members, right, who had infiltrated the town and taken a bunch of the town's children, the town of Ironstead, for a cult sacrifice. And it's obviously they were trying to summon an aspect of the storm, right?
We would assume.
And so the children who were captured, this band of adventurers was summoned and sent out to investigate where the disappearance of the children had happened and kind of what had befallen them. And they went about this session 0. We all had some interesting, uniquely named characters, which were some amalgamation of some throwback names that Chris had chosen out of a hat. They were very sweet. and kind of got to learn how to play a little bit of D&D, right? It's the equivalent of what I would say is if it was the official thing, it's like when you start off with running the Mines of Phandelver, right? It was a very simple, straightforward, objective-based session 0, which, of course, a group of new players made way more complicated than it needed to be, as a group of PCs is wont to do. And we ended up fighting in, let's call it a barn.
A warehouse, yeah.
Warehouse storage facility.
Big barn.
Several people almost died right off the bat. So that was a welcome to Thunderfall moment for everybody. And as eventually stopped partially the ritual. And there were some belated consequences in the future of this, right? So the twist was very cool. The characters that we played in our session 0 are characters that exist in the world or have existed in the world. And the PCs, the players that we elected to start at, were eventually the children. So the original group members were all some of the children from the town of Ironstead.
Except for one.
Except for one. Several of them have fallen, and several of them have been altered in ways that have yet to be determined. So,
yeah. So we actually had a second session 0 because the first one was so successful. And I think people were so ready to rock and roll that we just wanted to get our feet wet. So we had a follow-up session 0 where we brought in a few more players, and we introduced kind of like, you know, our these new characters, right? So one of those characters, it wasn't, not everybody was at the table, right? But we had 2 elves that were introduced. Vincent Velworth V, whose family, he's kind of like part of the the nobility of the town,
Iron,
right? Like his
Iron Mafia.
Iron
Mafia, Chad.
So
Iron Mafia.
he had probably one of the coolest character concepts of all time, which was that he was like a WWE superstar who didn't realize that his family had bought every fight he'd ever won, and he was undefeated, right? Like it was kind of
an absolutely amazing concept of a character.
Yeah, one of the coolest things.
And we wish that he had more time to grow and flesh out that character further.
Blood
and then
magic,
he was joined
am I right?
by a much younger elf,
break.
which was played by another person, who was kind of like his cousin twice removed, who was also rich and was just happened to be visiting the estate.
A suspiciously young elf.
Yeah, an underage elf, we can definitely say.
Couldn't drink.
And Vince, as the the heir to the Velorith estate, invited several people he knew from town to come in and do like some training sessions prior to this gathering of the aspirants that Matt talked about earlier. So, hey, we know that we're going to be tested tomorrow. Let's all go and let's do some training in advance. And so he was the 3 that he invited were Orin Tidebreaker, who was a cleric of Hyronius, a river dwarf, who, again, all of these were characters who had been in that initial session. He was joined by his kind of like brother-in-arms, Dax Wormwood, which is Matt, your original character, who was a druid. And then,
Still
of course,
is a druid.
Yes, and of course then Talon Brightshield. And the Talon that we had then is not quite the Talon that we have now. What's kind of his background, Devin?
Yeah, I think like Talon grew up, hearing stories about his an absentee father, dead or alive, kind of unknown, but a legendary figure in his own right. And so he grew up, with a single mom, and spent a lot of time out with the lumberjacks. In the town of Ironstead, which is how he knew Dax Wormwood. So when he went along, young and eager to prove himself, and obviously as the story developed, I think he went through kind of this really rapid cycle of growing up. Right, you go from being a young man or a boy to a young man to a man. Very similar to like your you see a lot of movies where the guys are eager to rush off to war, and they go through that first real battle, and you're like, oh,
Yep.
things are not quite the same, right? And he's definitely lost and matured and grown up. He's also had struggles with both his faith, right? He's in his backstory, he has been called to by two gods in particular. One, the equivalent of like the god of war, very much the god of soldiers, of wrath and ruin, who has, the more you lean into that, the less noble I think you definitely become potentially. And then Hieronymus, right? So there was a moment of character development there where there was some conflict, and Talon tortures a man, right? for some information, especially after the rage of losing not just one but two friends, one in combat and one to happenstance, a party member, right? A dear friend who's corrupted by the storm and makes, dear friend, a young rival, I guess is the better word for him, corrupted by the storm and makes a life-altering decision. And also he takes the weight of leadership on, right? He goes to train with the King's Guard, becomes not just a member of the King's Guard, but a knight commander, right? And so he takes on the mantle of leadership, and throughout the developing story, loses people, right? And obviously, that has definitely shaped and affected him. So he's not the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, new recruit anymore. He's a little bit more hardened.
Yeah. So this initial session that we did, kind of to your point earlier, this second session 0, we found a way to make things incredibly difficult. Vince brings Talon, Dax, and Orin alongside his younger cousin, and they go in there to get an egg from a chicken. Should be a fairly simple thing to do. It ends up being a lot more complicated than that. They do eventually get the egg, and that part of the story will come back up later. And then they go and they find that there's a disturbance in his grandfather's vault, and when they go to visit it, they're met with creatures they've never seen before, creatures of the storm, small goblinoid type creatures, but yet elemental in a way. And they're able to dispatch them, though not without let's say property damage. And it's kind of like that was like the first, I guess, like just the first echo of, I think that of even just the original session 0, that hey, something's going on, things are not as they should be. And then we started off with like the original session 1, right? Matt, what take us back. So that first session 1, what were your kind of expectations? Now we're like really playing.
I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know how I was going to fit in being the new guy. I was kind of worried about, holding the group back. But as a gamer, I stepped up. I stepped in. But I was really worried about how I was kind of going to fit in and how it was going to work. But kudos to Chris and Devin and stuff. He really made it really welcoming and inviting, and really easy to kind of get engulfed in this world that he created. I mean, the man sent a prospectus that I have up over here of how many pages? 101 pages and growing, with tons of detail, tons of his heart and soul poured into it, and I really appreciated that, and I wanted to live up to his efforts for that. And I still do every session that we have. I want to create that story that he's so much so has wanted to tell for 5 years. And I want to do it justice and make sure that we're, doing our part to be able to tell this story and not just be something that you fast forward 30 minutes to the combat. I want the story moments to mean just as much as the epic combat moments. So That's kind of what I was worried about, but I found that I enjoy telling a story and helping us get to where from point A to point B, and sometimes getting there from point A to point B, you visit Z on accident, and it's great. I just that's what I was worried about, but I'm really excited of where this is going and how it's been going, and watching us continue to improve and try to do better every session. That's kind of where I was.
Because you said that it would take us 30 minutes to get to combat, when we all know that it's like an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we could
especially if there's javelins on sale.
Yeah, that's true. Our chopping episodes tend to be problematic. So we pretty early on, I knew that we had a lot of people who were rusty, and I had talked to some of the players like, hey, how do you want to be introduced? It's kind of weird. Short of doing like the, hey, you meet in the tavern, or you just are already a party and you're in a combat, it's kind of weird to like introduce people together, right? And so we had the three adventurers who had been at the Valorith estate, they opened up, they were walking in. Then the Valorith, the elves kind of came in, and they met at the docks, and they met a cleric, a failed bard there, but it was kind of like a just in passing type scenario, and they all got on a ship to kind of ride down to Ironstead for the gathering of the aspirants. And while they were there, on the boat was suddenly attacked by pirates, and it got kind of bleak pretty quickly, and so much so that one of the players' characters was actually kidnapped and ripped off the side of the boat.
Sigh. I'm gonna give a call out to Mark if you're watching. Sigh. Yeah.
So we lost a player character, and we gained one of the pirates. Actually, the captain of the pirates, his crew mutinied against him. His first mate mutinied, launched a coup, and so he was suddenly without a ship and without allies, and so he joined our cause. But I think that was something that was never, just because of the way that it started, it never really like fully coalesced, right, as to like his bonding with the group. And I think part of it was just the first thing he did was try to rob everyone, and for what it's worth, it didn't go well for him, and then he just kind of was a failed pirate, right? But you had heard of him. And so that was kind of the end of session 1. They landed in town. Over the course of the next couple of sessions, the players went and met with all 5 factions, right? And they interviewed and eventually got sent out on the job. Some people had gone missing, and they'd been heard of a disturbance in the mines. The players went, at a certain point, only because I shoved them out the door. But they did eventually leave Ironstead, and they went to the mine. And there they were able to learn a little bit more about each other, and a little bit more about kind of the game that was afoot, behind the guise of the gathering of the aspirants. They were able to kind of root out that evil, return to town, make their reports, and then go into each of the challenges. Now, the gathering of the aspirants is a 3-challenge, like sort of proving grounds, and the first of which was a series of, effectively as 2 parts, right? It was a obstacle course with the aforementioned rolling logs down the river, which worked out okay, but maybe needed a little bit more fine-tuning.
More imagination by some players.
And then the second half of it was kind of a little bit of like a mystery, like a murder mystery / vampire encounter. Through which the entire party came through, maybe not unscathed, but all of them alive. And I really didn't think that would be the case. In fact, my big band vampire, which I had to scale down quite a bit to deal with level 1 characters, or level 2 characters, I think at that time, was like handled in like a round and a half or something like that.
Don't forget about the chair. The chair was probably worse than the...
That's true. Guys, mimics, anything can be a mimic. Just know that anything can and probably is a mimic. And if it looks really attractive, it definitely is. And so I think that this was, like, after they finished that first trial, I think that the original group was pretty well bonded. I think that they felt like there was a shared history. They had gotten through some stuff together. People were able to showcase kind of what they were good at. with the exception of Vince. And so like I think it was probably like a high point in terms of like how tight knit everybody was. The second challenge, the second tent, as it were, is probably one of my things that I was like most proud of. Let's talk a little bit about what the second trial in the Gathering of the Aspirants was. I think it's the yellow tent. It might be the blue. It's the blue tent.
It was the slime bag, right? Or was it the board game? The board game room.
Board game room. Yeah, the slime bag was kind of an earlier pre-thing.
Pre-test. Yes, right. Pre-test.
So the board game room. So I made a massive board game convention situation set up in the second hall, and I created a bunch of encounters that, depending on where the players wanted to go, they would get pulled into a board game, and we would play like a tabletop RPG version of each of those.
It was well done.
And I picked a handful, 4. Only one of them got used, obviously. And it was kind of the one I knew that they would, which was a story of glory and flame and blood.
And a whole lot of rage.
And yeah, so much rage. Devin, I feel like you got to tell the story on this one because you are the person who killed all the children.
For what?
For blood rage.
Oh, yes. I mean, the game of Blood Rage is a classic that Chris and I have played. Gosh, well over probably 100 times between the three of us. Ox has played it as well, but it is a Viking-themed game full of conquest and battle. And Chris has put a twist on it that resulted in Talon continuing the saga of every time that I've ever played a PC in any one of Chris's worlds. I have somehow slaughtered children to the last. So that took place in this challenge again.
Please tell us how you did it this time.
There was some fire.
He threw a torch into a straw hut with women and children in it. And let's just say there was screaming, and then there wasn't.
There was a torch that was thrown. I actually don't believe I was at the table at the time. I think I had to step away for some reason. But I had said I'd take out a torch, and the dice were cast. Devin, the man behind Talon, was not informed of what was in the straw hut, but had said, "Yeah, if something happens, I'll just throw the torch." And I was not at the table, and decisions were executed. Additionally, Talon, displaying his very first strong dislike of Vince as a character, strapped him to a ram. Ram, I believe?
It was Thor's goats. It was Thor's goats.
Thor's goat. After Vince decided to insult a literal god,
Thor,
Thor, in the game, and somehow Vince didn't die, but it was very close. I believe we actually elected not to let Vince die, if I remember right. And we stabilized his unconscious corpse.
I think that's when I started planning for his eventual demise.
Yes, it was very clear at that point that Vince was doomed to have a shorter life than most. The life of a true adventurer. Right?
What I really liked about those games is that there were 2 parts, right? Like each of them had like a series of skill challenges that you guys would go and roll dice and make decisions, vote, whatever it was, and then that would help determine actually what bonuses or how hard the thing was that you were taking on.
Yeah, there was a very cool part of that where we got to decide and do some contests against like some sea monsters and some things of like the staffing of the boat. It was a very, very, very cool spin off of something that a lot of the players at the table have played before. I know Scott has played Blood Rage with us many, many times. So has Ox.
The only person that hasn't is Steve, actually.
Steve
is the only one.
Yeah, you're right.
So, from that, we went into a bit of a one-on-one combat that was based on kind of like Dragon Ball There is in the original story of Dragon Ball.
The Tekken tournament.
Well, I based it off of the Baba Uranai.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah,
tournament. You have to go and fight and he ends up fighting Grandpa Gohan at the end. And so it was just a way for it was to do one-on-one combat, right? This was a way to like highlight individual players, right? To give them kind of the spotlight if they hadn't naturally been doing that.
The bulb in my spotlight was not installed.
No.
Bad matchup.
And yeah, that's right. You kind of got.
I got a range, but I couldn't get close enough to him.
I think. Did you fight?
I fought the one that had the magic missile. And
oh yeah, Lyra. So
Lyra.
Yeah, you fought Lyra. Yeah, that's Talon's girlfriend. So it did. She kind of did take you down.
Dax's girlfriend beat your girlfriend.
That maybe is true. But then Talon probably should have lost his life at the end of this. And one of his childhood rivals, right, gave in to his, what's it called, intrusive thoughts, right? Gave in and used...
rolled really well.
Yeah.
Stole victory from the boy.
And so suddenly Talon's childhood friend and rival had been turned into a herald of the storm, for lack of a better phrasing. And suddenly, like, the entirety of the gathering itself was under attack. Agents from the Azure, or the faction that broke away, had begun to attack, and the gathering was over, and now it was up to our players to fight their way to safety, really, and kind of gather themselves, which they were able to do. Again, nobody died throughout all of this.
And let me tell you what, having to be creative with how long the aspirants was and how exhausted the characters were with spell slots and all that stuff, it made you really have to think on your feet how you're going to get out of that.
Yeah, we didn't give him a long rest through any of that, because it was each event after event after event. It all took place in a day, and so the players did have to really like be conservative with their abilities and their spell slots. And I gave him some free like heals in there, but it was definitely a tough deal. You did have to use an action, yes. Much to many people's chagrin, you had to use an action. So we moved on from that. Eventually the rebellion is largely put down. The players go and they make their way to an old temple inside the town to kind of root out the last vestiges of this rebellion in the city itself. And in doing so, I think Talon probably learned his first real like leadership lesson.
I mean, definitely one of them, right? When we're making our way out of the town for the first time.
No,
into the apartment.
Into the Temple of Storms. No, when you guys were in the Temple of Storms.
Oh yeah, Temple of Storm, yeah.
Oh yes, I mean that is probably the very first pre-training, definitely the first like leadership moment, right? Because in that combat, at this point, and still probably Talon is the most durable fighter solo one-on-one at this point, and his entire party while he's fighting like this let's say mini boss goes down to the fodder because there was no coordination amongst the team at this point. There's no thoughts, just vibes, as the kids would say. And Talon
that
turns
happens
around and,
often.
almost loses the entire party to the equivalent of like 4 HP level monsters.
Yeah, it really was like, we talk about like anime and stuff, but it really was kind of like one of those scenes where like the hothead rushes in, the guy who is like the stud, and everybody else just is getting their asses kicked, right? And part of it is that there were some environmental like traps and things that existed.
A lot of Cybermen.
But there was a constant feed of small like fodder, that were coming in, and no coordination, right? And it really was by a lot of luck that I think several of you guys definitely went down, right? And so it was really only because, like,
It was me and Talon left.
when things got nasty, Talon had already done enough damage to the mini boss, right, that we were able to, like, kind of claw and scrape our way out. But yeah, very nearly was a full TPK.
Yes,
Yeah.
on fight number 2 at that point, I think.
First major one.
Following that, each of the players is delivered a series of envelopes, and they're given their bids, even though the trial of the aspirants, like, maybe didn't go the way that it was intended. People still saw plenty of what you did, and so each of you received at least one envelope. And we kind of did a time skip, right, where everybody went, and we did some, like, offline, or at least, like, off-stream role play, right? Like solo or small group role play, where you guys kind of went through the events of training. And I know that you guys streamed your Kingsguard deal, but some of the players went together, some of them didn't, and you were kind of just given like a, hey, tell me what you do. Here's kind of like the events. Figure out what you do over the next couple of months. And at the end of that training, you've leveled up again, and you're supposedly stronger, wiser, more prepared, and you're sent off to a small town north of Ironstead to escort some ore and to look into a conflict that had been taking place in the city of Westvale. What was really the problem, Matt? What was going on in Westvale that you guys had to come in and kind of solve for?
Oh, there was a goblin invade. Well, I wouldn't say invasion. They never really got in to invade, but there definitely was a blockade / encampment trying to overtake the city. They never really invaded, but there was a bad goblin problem.
And so what did you guys encounter? What was the problem as you guys saw it? You guys show up, what is the thing, and kind of what followed that?
Yeah, I mean, so, and, on the way there, we, like every good party does, gets distracted, and we end up in like this old grandma's house, and, it turns out that she's not to be derogatory towards her, I'm sure she was a fine lady at some point, but a hag, and, she tried to eat some people. Probably would have been really happy with Brohinda. She would have been really happy with that, but we ended up getting away from that, torching the home, so that, it was just a bad place, so we got rid of it. Like any good party does, throw fire on it. Been our MO. And then we went along our way. As we're, on the road, we ended up getting ambushed by some goblins. Tried to be nice to them because, our orders was to stop the, rebellion's not really a thing, but like
It was really a land war.
Land war, yeah, exactly, a land war. And we're trying to stop that, and we got ambushed, and some of us were trying to be nice because we're supposed to stop that, or bring the goblins onto our side for the big war to come that we see over the horizon, the rolling storm, as I like to call it. And my character Dax also knew more than anybody is that how serious this conflict that was coming was, because he had attuned to a storm emerald or stone or crystal, or I can't remember exactly what type of gemstone that was in the storm temple that we almost got our asses kicked in, and he had a vision of the storm to come, and as we're coming, so Dex was trying to bring the goblins on the side, so he's trying to be nice, and the goblins were speaking about that this is their order that they ordered, and it's right there, that that it was supposed to go to them, and foreshadowing, there's not everything's as what it seems, but we got ambushed, we wiped them out, and we talk amongst ourselves. We're divided on what we should do in this situation. Should we eradicate them? Should we, damage their numbers to no repair to where there's no issue in the area, or if we should try to, bring them in and, help bolster our ranks at this already kind of, through the the time of, just decrepiting of the city from lack of supplies, lack of, goods and trades being able to go out through the ports from the pirates or the goblins in the main road. And don't even talk about the mountain and its secrets. So we got up there and, the city's torn in two on what to do. There's, big name leaders that are, politically high in the society of the town and really causing some issues and pushing their agenda and what they should do. We arrived there, got in a fight with a guard trying to get in, flashed our Kingsguard stuff and our orders, and were able to get in finally. And then we arrived there to, a town that really didn't give a fuck about us. They just wanted to take care of their town, and didn't really see us as just young, wet behind the ears puppies kind of our deal. But then we made our way to, the blacksmith with the goods that we had delivered.
Yeah, and the blacksmith really played like a pivotal role in the whole story of Westvale, right? He sent you guys on a number of missions. You guys were able to go, and honestly, this was also the beginning of Chris is going to take somebody down every single combat. It felt like it started to become where it was like every single time you guys walked out, somebody got punched in the mouth, if not multiple people. You guys got sent on numerous missions, and every mission there was an opportunity, right, to either attack and try to weaken the forces of the goblins, or to help them, right, and to aid it, and so try to help them out. And so that was constantly a thing.
And some people somebody in the party maybe helped the goblins in secret, and people didn't know.
Yeah, or they did. And so it really became a thing. Like, you guys found that yourselves were continually like kind of in this position, and you were able to on several occasions you spoke to the goblins and were eventually able to set up like a meeting with the goblin leader, who turned out to be no one other than the blacksmith himself, the guy who had been sending you guys out.
Plot twist. I think we should mention the blood magic on Vince for sure. Yeah, that's a big moment.
Absolutely, and that's actually where this comes in, right? So
always read the small print.
As they're meeting with the blacksmith goblin leader, it becomes clear that one of the units in the party, one of the characters, the elf princeling, as it were, had earlier, because he wanted to meet somebody who was of nobility or in the government, had been out strolling about town and found himself in a precarious situation with a local proprietor of the mercantile store, who happened to be the mayor, and together they forged a blood pact that was magical in nature, and basically assured that Vince would not betray the town, right? But also had to very much stick to the letter of the law. And the reveal of this goblin blacksmith kind of put Vince in a position where he would either die or he would have to like attack and bring the goblin to justice. Despite Talon's options for, he provided many offers to amputate to help kind of stave off whatever blood magic might be wrought. It ended up being the case that because action was not taken soon enough, the blood curse was dispelled, but it also cost Vince's life. And it was all done through rolls, right? And then Matt, your character made some pretty big roleplay decisions, and I know Talon was a part of it too, to go and try to use that egg from that initial session to see if it might do something.
Yeah, it seemed special in nature, so I thought, what the hell? I talked to the egg, kind of tried to attune to it, its magical nature. And ended up being, taken into another realm, and spoke with the phoenix, the big deity of the area, the bringer of the storm, and all that stuff. Talked to him, and and Dax really, was able to talk to the Phoenix and kind of use its his ideal of rebirth. And you say all these things, and you got to back it up here, and you got to show us your power and show us how strong you really are. And if you want people to follow, then prove it. And he was able to really have a moment there, and luckily everything played out to where, Vince 2.0 was able to come back from this situation.
Yeah, and it was Vince in form, but not in spirit, right? So
a vessel. He was a vessel.
Yeah, he becomes known as the vessel, right? And so was the herald, a herald of the Phoenix, a elemental spirit comes and embodies Vince's body form and changes him in some ways, and powered him up in a lot of ways to kind of go and do the will of the Phoenix. And it was
Ashbourne was born.
Yeah, we need to kind of go back in Tarantino here for a moment, but just previously, the party had gotten themselves in a little bit of trouble with some hill giants and trying to help the goblins, and Vince, when he was still Vince, had unleashed some unholy
magical beans
out onto the forest floor, and most importantly, it summoned a land shark and a pyramid in the middle of the forest. And the pyramid seemingly consumed the remaining hill giant that was left. The party nearly died to this combat as well, but Rurik Deepwave, who was the blackguard and the former pirate who had been a member of the party, was unable, after narrowly escaping death at the hands of the hill giants, was unable to escape his fate against the bullet, right? So the land shark itself, and so he had passed. So now, in just back-to-back sessions in real time, right, we had just lost two of our original characters, and unfortunately, I think it was only a session later when we lost our next one. The players return. They go through an entire ordeal to convince the people of the town that we need to work together with the goblins to uproot,
please follow
kind of the rot, right? Like the evil source, the upstart goblin leader who had deposed of the blacksmith, and what they might be able to do, and they do. They spend a bunch of time training and making proteges and preparing the town.
I think we should hear from Benny here really quick.
Definitely not. But Benny will return. I saw him today, like in real life. He doesn't sound like that. But he, they made their way for the goblin hideout, and due to some unfortunate circumstances, their foray into the goblin hideout ultimately cost the party its third member in, I think, in 5 sessions. I think in 5 actual at-table sessions, the third member would pass, and Dax Wormwood, probably the heart and soul of the group, the moral compass of the group, fell due to
brutally.
We might say due to aimless, selfish actions of the vessel, right? Or the being inhabiting the vessel. To the extent that several players mentioned to me that it was their goal then to make it sure that another player character would be killed in the next session. Thankfully, we have 2 weeks between sessions, so we were able to kind of...
Cooler heads prevailed.
Cooler heads prevailed, and eventually the team was able to take down the goblin threat.
There was another thing with the egg at that moment too.
Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. we tried to see if we could get it to lightning to strike in the second time, right? And see if we couldn't make the egg work one more time to bring back the spirit of Dax, unfortunately.
And Matt, the player, was really nice.
So suspiciously didn't work.
Well, and I'll take blame for that because like I said at the very beginning, my job is to tell a story, and I didn't feel like it was doing justice to just get out of jail free card. I felt like actions had to have repercussions, and we had to learn from that moment. Though I hated losing my character, and being a big part of the group, I thought that it was the right thing to do for the story.
It definitely hurt from a role-playing standpoint, right? It definitely hurt the gel, the feng shui of the group.
Yeah.
When the first two died, it was like, whatever. But really, Dax dying, and then what happened shortly thereafter gutted the group in the heart of the group. You guys go, you defeat the goblin leader, you defeat the priest, and you retrieve the heart of the storm.
We meet some new characters.
Yeah, you guys meet. Obviously, people had to re-roll, right? So new characters come in from a side campaign that Devin had been running for us, in order to kind of refill, and new characters pop in to re-bolster the group so that they can go take down the goblin boss. And once they do, they make their way back to town. And I thought, man, maybe Westvale has claimed a lot of lives, right? It's claimed 3 lives. Thank goodness we can be done. But the entire time Dax had been in town, prior to his death, he really, really wanted, they had discovered a deck of many things, and Dax was desperate. Actually, Matthew was desperate to draw cards off that deck. And Oren, who was Dax's blood brother, wanted to do so in his honor. And unfortunately, cards were drawn, and Oren's soul was trapped, and his body fell as if petrified to the ground. And so now Westvale, just on its last breath, took a 4th character from us. And I'll be honest, as a DM, right, this period, Devin was super angry. There's I got a series of very, very frustrated texts. And it really kind of killed, I think, the group energy for a while, to the point of we had to kind of refigure out who we were. We had to learn how to role play because so many new characters were joining the campaign that it became a little bit more of work and not fun for a couple of sessions, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that we're working out the glue that binds us, right? The aspirants was such a great bonding moment that it's kind of hard to do on the run as we're trying to, propel the story to the next act, right? So I feel like that's still something we're working with. That's kind of how I feel, and we're still getting better. The last few sessions have been a lot better.
Yeah. Devin, what are your thoughts on just kind of the entire Westvale arc as a whole?
I think it's got a lot of positives to it. I mean, that's the risk as a DM when you have so many PCs die.
This campaign does not hold your hand by any means.
Well, it just tends to make a campaign fall apart because then you have there's less reasons for why. Why would some random new person join this group, right? In my experience, you're playing with around 4 or 5 PCs. If over half of the original members are no longer there, it's very difficult to keep going, right? So, testament to the group for figuring out the why behind they would be. I mean, there was a little gap in spacing between new characters, right? It would have been much harder if Matt already didn't have a character that had been played out a little bit and fleshed out
in the world already.
And the advantage of Scott being able to start over means he got to get a little bit more depth to his misguided
pirate,
seafaring pirate.
Yeah,
swashbuckler is what
definitely better.
he wanted. He wanted to be a swashbuckler, but unfortunately, he
in
had,
an area of
imbibed-
all land.
He'd imbibed a little bit of the juice, and his dice did not cooperate on the night of character creation.
No. Well, I
where
think the glasses of bourbon also didn't help.
Oh, well, we got to experience learning about a D6 about 12 times.
Yeah, Chad. Hey, this is how you roll your character. This is a D6 here. You see this here? This is a D6. Scott, we love you.
Which is a beautiful moment, forever lost to the sea of time, since Matthew forgot to share everything to YouTube.
I racked my brain for a while trying to figure out, okay, like I recognize this problem. How do I bring this group together? Why does it make sense that they move on from here? How do I take them to the place that I want to take them? And so I kind of just assigned them, hey, because you were the ones that were successful enough to do this, and at least at that time, Talon, Orin, and Brunhilde were all like members who had been successful both during the Gathering of the Aspirants and here in Westvale, which gave them like trust, right? Like that's really the reason the rest of the group gets recruited, to go and be like a special force, right? Like where they can go and act as an extension of the arm of the Council of Thunder, which is like a governing body within Thunderfall. And so it's the only way I could kind of say like, hey, you have a reason to go do this thing, is basically you got told to do it by the government.
The Forge.
A little bit of like a Suicide Squad thing. You guys aren't like villains, but like it was a little bit of like, this is what you're doing.
Sometimes I want to be.
And yeah, well, listen, I would run a Suicide Squad D&D campaign. That'd be awesome. Like everybody's evil characters would be great. But I think then we headed to Hamlet, right? Which Hamlet is kind of the entire reason I started this campaign. Matthew Colville has an amazing series on YouTube called Running the Game, and when he made it, he constantly referenced in like multiple videos this T1, and T1 is one of the very first Gygaxian like official printed adventures called The Village of Hamlet, and it looks like, let's see if I can do this. Looks like this. And so I saw this like relic from 1979 and said, "Oh, we have to run that, right?" And so we are now finally we're using OARs from Goodman Games Temple of Elemental Evil. We're not using it wholesale, but we're using this as kind of like the foundation to run the players through Hamlet. So they have arrived in Hamlet, and again, everything's kind of tied into the story, right? So they're trying to figure out what's going on with this relic that they got out of Westvale. Why are there so many bandits like with these certain stones, and what is the tie to to Caelim's rebellion, and how is that tied to the Temple of Elemental Evil? And so that's kind of where we're sitting today. Is they just now have gotten to one of the most famous. The reasons that the Village of Hamlet is such a famous module is because for many D&D players, the Moat House is like the perfect starter dungeon. Like, and it's the one that many players did as their first dungeon historically. And so right now, our players are there. They're there in a dungeon that literally millions of other D&D players have walked through, right? Like, for the last 50 years or so, people have been playing in the Moat House. Or nearly 50 years. And no, D&D is 50 years old, so it's probably really close.
Some people thought it was Boat House and thought we were walking onto a boat.
No, Moat House. Moat House. It's much better. So, hey, has this broken up at all, my mic, by the way?
No, you've been amazing.
Great work, guys. And so, yeah, I think for me, what's exciting is I love the history of things. I love investigating into the history of things. And so what's really exciting for me is that we're running a dungeon that has been run literally by hundreds of thousands of dungeon masters for millions of people, right? for the better part of half a century. And we get to be a part of that history as we kind of move forward. So that's where we are today. We're in the Moat House. We've got a couple of the original characters. We've got some religious, like, back and forth. We've got some people still trying to figure out where they fit in. We've got amnesiac wizards. We've got people who are failed science experiments. And we have a bull with armor, right? And we are just... I think I am really excited with where we're going. I really like some of these characters. I really want to see some of these players continue to flesh out who they are. Well, I think one of the last things before we can close out and do final thoughts here is like, when I first came and I presented like a true session 0, not like a session. So I had session 0s, but we actually also had like a real session 0. We just talked about expectations for the game, and I walked through a bunch of things together with you guys and said, hey, I asked questions. What are we okay with doing? What do we want to see? What do we not want to see? What do you want to role play? What do you not want to role play? What kind of game do you want to run? It was really like a sales pitch, but it was a little bit back and forth. And you guys, like I said, hey, I'd kind of like to make this thing deadly, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to throw things at you, see how it works. And you guys said, yeah. And, there were a couple of times I maybe had to pull my punches in the first couple things because I just wanted you guys to get rolling. But I didn't pull them at all in Westvale, and people dropped. And there were several other fights that people were down, right? So,
Well, it wasn't about pulling punches. It was about people's stupidity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scott died because of Vince's stupidity. Dax died because of Vince's stupidity and his own.
Yeah.
There was just it's just newer players making poor decisions.
Yeah, and I'm really not like, I haven't protected you guys from that, really.
No, it should. I think it doesn't do justice to the story. There should be consequences, and we should be able to feel it.
From my stupidity, like if I as a DM create an encounter, I'm like, oh no, this was definitely not what I intended. Like then I'm trying to back it up to like present the challenge. I think it should happen, but like because sometimes things are just over geared or like overtuned for what you guys are gonna do. But yeah, a lot of times it is just that you guys do some dumb.
Especially when people miss a session and we're shorthanded.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true, right? And I don't really adjust the encounters for that, because you guys are, when you're all there, you're actually usually overtuned for the fight. Like you guys walk through it. But just like numerically, you guys are usually set. Like I can't even hit half you guys with most of my attacks. So if you guys get into a bad position, it's a little bit on you.
Yeah, I agree. You don't have to defend it. You're good.
So as we kind of close out here with the Moat House, what are you guys kind of final thoughts? And like I guess what I want to hear is like kind of just final thoughts about where we're at right now, and what's one thing you hope to see but don't know if it's going to happen.
Final thoughts for me. I think the campaign is improving in a measurable way. I think the role playing is really, really critical and important. Want to see a lot more of the character interaction as characters, and actually just to take the party to take time to actually tell the story. Right? We tend to have this desire to like rush from new thing to new thing.
We like to hold the A button and skip the cutscene.
Yeah. So going through that and doing a lot of like the character development stuff is like what makes a campaign like last long. Otherwise, you really just skip from like main story point to main story point to main story point. And if that was the case, then you could just play it out of a book versus a homebrew.
Yeah.
The whole point of a homebrew campaign is that there's like really a lot of depth.
Yeah.
In character versus like. These are the 12 characters that are written into the campaign, and this is the important ones, and everybody else is just kind of an ad hoc, whatever.
100%. However,
Devin, I think you might be using the wrong microphone.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think it sounds like it's coming from your computer, not your mic.
I would agree with you. However, I sometimes feel like we spend a bunch of time on the stuff that is not worth staying at. and then we rush right past the stuff that like does have substance, right?
I'd be happy. I'd be perfectly fine if like you kind of guided us somehow. Like, I know you don't want to like create like a linear.
You are 100% right. My microphone was.
You have sounded like ass this entire time.
Not ass. I would say like sweaty armpit. Not quite ass.
It was coming from
all
the way across.
Yeah, I thought so.
That's correct. So when you watch this, you'll be able to see.
Yeah, you sound amazing now.
Yeah, I think that part of it is, I mean, even recently, right? I had you guys. I literally had an NPC because nobody was talking to anybody. I had an NPC that come into you, ask, "Hey, can I show you anything around town?" And you guys are like, "Yeah, not really. We'll see you later." I'm like, I don't.
We're having drinks at the bar.
Listen, shout out to these two dickheads for not saying anything about my microphone struggles for.
I didn't. So I noticed you sounded different, but it wasn't terrible. It just sounded like you were farther away and kind of in a big empty room.
You're gonna watch this back, and you're gonna be so mad.
Dude, you fucking scumbags over here.
Dude, you sound so much better.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's why we spend money, to do things that
absolutely
at a certain quality, but it's all right.
Matthew, what about you? Oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, Devin. What's the thing that you hope for? Like wild, like off the wall hope.
I mean, it's always cool as you start to develop as a character, right? For all the cool stuff you get to unlock. It's
being
very
still alive.
Superhero mode adjacent. I think that there's some cool stuff that I hope to find. There's definitely a spell that I want to find in an item, or something that will allow a non-caster class to have.
What's something in the story you hope to happen?
Story-wise, dude, I'm excited for a little bit of like the dungeon delving aspect of it. There's a very cool component to what Chris has riffed off of that is not used in other campaigns. I'd run one similar, which is in Waterdeep, and so I'm curious and excited to see how that's handled. Like what kind of prep work goes into that, just to make it's some really cool stuff that like didn't make it into later evolutions of D&D. So as a DM, I'm excited about that. As a player, I'm excited to experience it.
Matthew, what about you?
Yeah.
Recap and what's your wish list?
Yeah. So so far.
Okay, get on my lap and tell Santa what you want.
Okay. So yeah, I kind of feel like we're at a pivotal moment in the party. I think the party is either going to come together and bond over this moment, or it's going to fracture and fail. So I think we're at a very key moment of where we can't half-ass this next few moments that we have coming up. We really have to either dive in and really try to gel as a unit, and as the Forge, right? The Forge is right now as a name. I think we need to really become that unit. Right now, we're a bunch of different, solo units, and I think that's actually fitting because, like Delta Force, right? You get the Navy SEALs, you get the Army Rangers, you get all these different types of military backgrounds, and they come together and they butt heads because they think one's better than the other and stuff. But then something happens, like either first mission or training, boot camp, and all that stuff. Something hard and I don't want to say traumatizing, but something that really changes them and forces them to kind of grow. I almost want to think like, when we showed up to St. Joe and, you and Bach and all these people moved in, but then, the blood, sweat, and tears and 2 days really melded us together. And look at us here now. We're sitting here talking to each other on the screen and playing a game that, no matter how far away we are, we've built connections through those moments that created this. It's not something that just happened on its own.
ZZZZ.
So that's kind of where I'm at, where we're at in the story, and I really want us to go together because I'm really big and I'm a story guy. I love the combat and fighting and all that. That's all cool, but I can get that anywhere. I really want to tell a story. I want to have moments when people watch and we bring them to certain feel certain emotions. Like I don't want them just to watch this just be like, oh, it's so like Dax died. Oh, who cares? I want you to be moved by the moment, and I want us really to role play that out better, and really dive into who we are as player characters. Like, how would we feel in that moment if, let's say, it wasn't Dax Wormhood, it was me, or something like that. Like, how would you feel with that? So I think we could do a better job with that, and I'm really excited to see where we can go. And we're a year in, and so we're only going to keep getting better and better. And I know, and we've already shown, like with streaming and the sport. I mean, I got friends and stuff telling like, oh, I'd love to do that with you guys, and want to be, cameo characters, or if someone drops out, God forbid, I hopefully no, but everybody sticks it out for a long, long time, and they do a newspaper article about our game. And we got people that are invested in the world we have created, and that's, I want them to feel those emotions. And something that I'm looking forward to or hoping to is like seeing how this kind of plays out with my character now, Jug, and my former character Dax, who with that ritual we talked about, has come back in some way and form, not as like a normal player character, but as like a spiritual, like embody of like the Phoenix, kind of gave him rebirth, but his soul is still intact. He's still him. He's just not, a human or a humanoid or like an actual like person. So who knows what can happen with that? The story can go anywhere with that. Who knows? Like I was kind of, thinking like I could be like Banjo-Kazooie, with Jug and Dax, have freaking Dax in my backpack as like Kazooie and just have bickering moments with myself. I think that'd be hilarious. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Jug now is multi-classing when he levels, whenever that is. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. But we had a big moment where he connected with a nature, spirit that gave him the ability to learn druidic powers with his paladin powers, like because he's a paladin of the ancients, and so it kind of correlates and connects really well with the very similar nature aspects of the classes. I think it'd be really, really cool. And then the last thing, story wise,
Incoming
and when we're telling a story and the people in the group this could not be the way it goes or anything like that. This is what, and I foreshadow, I mentioned this at the very beginning of this, of what I thought would be really cool is, you look at some of the best, stories that we all love, right? Almost anybody you talk about that loves a good story, like whether it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, all those guys are on a big, long adventure, and it's not always like sunshine and rainbows. The Fellowship goes, and the Fellowship fails, and it fractures and it breaks, but they still go towards the common goal. And I just think a moment of like fracture of the group that really brings us like kind of where we're going to the same goal for like a split second. Whether it's session, you're the story, you're the DM, you're the you don't want to say it, but you're God in this world, and it's your story to tell, and I'm just trying to do it justice. But where we kind of fracture, but then come together even closer and tighter, I think would be really, really cool.
Yes. Frodo, the forever selfish dick.
That was the worst character in that whole thing.
He was carrying a ring of immense power.
Such a piece of shit.
I mean, it's just like when when Ron had
sucks for a while too,
of course. And what I'm saying is like, and we don't have to like everybody in our party. Like sometimes we should hate each other. Right, and that builds good story. No one wants to see something just go perfect all the time.
absolutely wild. But yes, you're right. Harry does suck. Harry sucks as a wizard. Like,
Yeah,
just
he's actually not that good. He's like really, he is really, really gifted at Patronuses specifically, and kind of sucks.
Movie Harry and book Harry are
He's
different, though.
pretty good at Quidditch, right? Otherwise, he's kind of mediocre.
Movie
Harry
Harry,
and Movie Harry.
Movie Harry, and book Harry are completely different.
That's true.
Book Harry is way more just a natural wizard.
He's more of a competent. He's more competent.
He's a natural wizard.
But also, he is not. Even Book Harry does not spend. He is not this all-powerful. Like he's not.
Well, yeah, he's
anywhere near
13,
the level.
17. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
but he's.
But there are other wizards who are very clearly much more gifted.
And I guess
spell-wise
what I would say is that he learned that he was a wizard at 11 and picked it up. He's he's natural, but he doesn't have the time.
There, right? Let's just talk about a tangent, but he becomes an aura, right? Like, like so
the leader
clearly
of the aura.
Yeah, like he clearly becomes a very accomplished.
He's a specialist. The reason he is not as accomplished as he could is because he doesn't take the time to study.
Yeah.
He's not as dedicated to.
Listen to this
That's
here,
like,
kids. Put your heart and soul into what you want, and you could be successful. No matter if you're talented or not.
I do want to go back to something before I let you guys go, and I'm cool if we do one of these like once a quarter or whatever, or even if we just got on to like BS about like sessions weeks in between and just do like a 30-minute thing. It'd be fun.
Yeah. This went really well.
You said something that I really want to fight on. This is not my story to tell.
Okay. Yeah, we're telling your story. You created the world. Okay, I get it.
The world is fine, and I will do whatever I want with
Yes.
this, right?
Yeah, we're molding the story. I apologize.
Characters are yours, and the story is ours collectively. Yes. I have places with things seeded for you. But I hope you guys feel like, look, sometimes it's like, hey guys, this is what I planned for tonight. So like tonight we kind of got to do this thing. But in terms of like the big vision on this, the world's gonna do what I have it planned to do, but as far as what your characters do and who you talk to and what relationships you have and how you decide to go about things, that's your story. Or it's not even yours. That's not fair. It's our collective story to tell.
And the cool thing is that it's ever changing, right? What I really think and what I hope for is we finish this one. Like I kind of see this as like being vanilla WoW, right? It's the first story, first iteration, and then next thing you know, the fucking gate opens up and we're going to the fucking Outland, like just something wild, like shit. Like I see it as like you got expansions just ready to fucking throw at us.
My intention for where this campaign ends is going to make you really excited, and Devin's going to throw something.
Yes,
100%. That is, I call it here today. Folks at YouTube, call us out on this timestamp, whatever it is. The final reveal of this campaign, Matthew will love it, and he will be like, oh. And Devin is going to be so angry, so mad. He might even start to verbally assault me as I finish my description. I already know how it ends, so that's the thing. Like, I know how this thing ends. That much I do know. How we get there is all up to you, but I know exactly where this ends.
You might get a verbal assault. We'll see.
It is going.
I can't wait.
It's going to be great. So,
all right,
so guys, appreciate you. Have a good night.
Everybody say bye to stream. Everybody bye to stream on YouTube.
Guys, later.
Bye streaming.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys for coming by. Yeah, next Thursday. We say 7:45, but we all know it's 8:15. But yeah, come on by, stop on by, and just hang out and enjoy the story that we are telling. But I really want to thank everybody and all the players in our group, and especially Hick for all the time that he puts into it. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, dudes. This was a good hang.
Yep.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Matthew.